Good morning, students. Our next class is Mughal Empire. So, the Mughals were created an empire between 1550 and 1700 CE. Okay, those are one of the famous rulers in our country. Okay, they expanded their control Delhi to all over the entire subcontinent, and their administrative arrangements, ideas of governance, and architecture continued to influence rulers long after their decline. Now, every year, the Prime Minister of India addresses the nation on Independence Day from the ramparts of Red Fort in Delhi, which was once the residence of the Mughal emperors. Okay, so who were the Mughals? From where they came? We'll discuss. So the Mughals were from ruling families of Central Asian countries like Uzbekistan and Mongolia. Where is the Mongolia? So Mongolia is between China and Russia. The nation between China and Russia is called Mongolia. Okay, so they came from Central Asian countries. So these are belongs to Asia. Okay, they came from Uzbekistan and Mongolia. Babur, the first Mughal emperor. So who established the Mughal empire? Babur, between 1526 to 1530 CE. So he was forced to leave his ancestral throne due to the invasion by another rulers. So he lost his power from his ancestors. After years of wandering, he seized Kabul in 1504 CE. In 1526 CE, he defeated the Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi, and captured Delhi and Agra. So, he was established his rule in our country in the year 1526 CE by defeating the Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi, and captured Delhi and Agra. Okay, so we'll see the important Mughal emperors. Okay, so here is the Babur. So who established Mughal empire in our country? First, so 1526 CE defeated Ibrahim Lodi and established control over Agra and Delhi. Next, Humayun. So he was ruled between 1530 to 1556 CE. So he was defeated by Sher Khan Suri. And he ran away from India to Iran. Later, in Iran, Humayun received help from the Safavid Shah. He recaptured Delhi in 1555 CE, but died in an accident the following year. So up to 1530, Babur was ruled. Later, the Humayun was defeated by Sher Khan, and again he was captured the Delhi in 1555. Okay, next, Akbar. Already you know more about the Akbar. So Akbar was ruled between 1556 to 1605 CE. So he is the Akbar. So Akbar was 13 years old when he became the emperor. So he rapidly conquered Bengal, central India, Rajasthan, and Gujarat. So thereafter, he also conquered Afghanistan, Kashmir, and portions of the Deccan, not full Deccan. Deccan means southern India. So most of the northern part it was conquered. Okay, you can see here. So Akbar was conquered these areas where the yellow color was there, is there. That area was conquered by Akbar. So not the southern areas. Okay, up to Maharashtra, he was conquered. Next, Jahangir. So is the Jahangir. He was ruled 1605 to 1627 CE. So military campaign started by Akbar continued. No major conquest. He was not conquered any other kingdoms. Next, Shah Jahan. So he is the Shah Jahan. He was ruled between 1627 to 1658 CE. So Mughal campaigns continued in the Deccan. So he tried to occupy the southern India also. He faced many revolts by nobles and the chiefs of his empire. In 1657 to 1658 CE, there was a conflict over succession among Shah Jahan's sons. So there was a conflict or conflict between the Shah Jahan's sons for throne. So Aurangzeb was victorious and his three brothers were killed. Shah Jahan was imprisoned for the rest of his life in Agra by Aurangzeb, by his son. Okay. Next, the Aurangzeb. So he was the last emperor in Mughal Empire. So he was ruled between 1658 to 1707 CE, conquered Assam but faced a large number of revolts all over his kingdom from Afghanistan, Assam, Rajasthan, Punjab, Deccan, etc. Guru Tej Bahadur, Govind Singh, Shivaji, and his own son Akbar revolted against him. So Shivaji succeeded in establishing an independent Maratha kingdom. So Aurangzeb conquered Bijpur in 1685 CE and Golconda in 1687 CE. Golconda means Hyderabad. Okay. So his death was followed by a succession conflict among his sons. Okay. So these were the more powerful rulers in Mughal Empire. Okay. Next, relationship of the Mughals with other rulers. So at the time, around the time when Mughals came to India, so there were several kings and chiefs were there in our country. So many kings were ruling our country. So Mughals sought to bring them under their control. So at the time, no big empires were not there. So they sought to bring them under their control. They allowed the older rulers and chiefs to continue to rule over large part of their old kingdoms and collected revenue from them. So after conquering other kingdoms also, so they were not removed the old kings. They allowed the old rulers or old kings to continue to their rule in their kingdoms. Okay. Next, but these rulers could not fight against each others and had to keep an army ready for the use of the emperor. When the army required, these rulers should send their army to support of emperor. Okay. Next, Mughal rulers campaigned constantly against rulers who refused to accept their authority. So they were conquered large part of the area in our country. That's why in different parts, maybe the subordinates may revolt against the emperors. That's why the Mughal rulers campaigned constantly against rulers who refused to accept their authority. But as the Mughals became powerful, many other rulers also joined them voluntarily. So the small kings or other rulers won't fought with the Mughals. So voluntarily they joined with them. They accepted the power of the Mughals. So the Rajputs are a good examples of this. Many of them married their daughters into Mughal families and received high positions. But many resisted as well. The Sisodia Rajputs of Chittur refused to accept a Mughal authority for a long time. Once defeated, however, they were given their lands back as assignments. So the careful balance between defeating but not removing their opponents enabled the Mughals to extend their influence over many kings and chieftains. So what they did, so after conquering also, the old emperors allowed to rule their kingdoms. That's why they maintained good relations with the other kings. The Mughals married princesses of the local rulers as a mark of friendship to maintain a relation between different kingdoms. So they married princes of the local rulers. Jahangir's mother was the daughter of the Rajput ruler of Amber, modern Jaipur. Shah Jahan's mother was the daughter of the Rajput ruler of Jodhpur. Already so many pictures came in Hindi. Jodha Akbar and Rani Padmavati. So based on these histories. Okay. Next, Mansabdar and Jagirdars. So to expand their kingdom, to hold different regions, the Mughals recruited different people in their army. So they recruited from Turkish nobles and Iranians, Indian Muslims, Afghans, Rajputs, Marathas and other groups also. So the people who joined with the Mughals, so Mughal service were enrolled as Mansabdars. They identified as the Mansabdars. That is the rank of the chieftains. Okay. So these Mansabdars would work directly under the control of the emperor. So who could allocate any work for them to do? Like, so what are the duties of the Mansabdars? So gardening his palaces, protect the palace. So governing a province. So if they allotted any area to rule, so they should governing a province, conquering a new kingdom. So they sent to conquer new kingdoms, or suppressing a rebellion. If any subordinate revolt against the Mughals, so these Mansabdars were sent to suppress them. So these are the duties of the Mansabdars. What are those? One is gardening his palace, governing a province, conquering a new kingdom, or suppressing a rebellion. So these Mansabdars could not act independently like Nayakas in Vijayanagara. So in Vijayanagara kingdom, so after become powerful, so many Nayakas became independent. Okay, so to prevent that, the Mughals never appointed these Manasubdars long run in one Jagirs. So the Mughals prevented this by constantly transferring the Manasubdars from one place to another every 2 or 3 years. Thus Manasubdars could not get settled and powerful in any one place. So the Manasubdar's military responsibilities required him to maintain a specified number of horse riders or cavalrymen. Okay, based on that only they receive the salaries. So every Manasubdar should maintain some military. Okay, so a Manasubdar's son could not become a Manasubdar automatically. After death of the Manasubdar's sons could not become a Manasubdar automatically. That is the transfer of power was not hereditary. The position won't get hereditary. The empire decided whether to appoint the son as a Manasubdar or not. So sometimes after death of the Manasubdar, the property may hand over by king. Okay, next. Manasubdars received their salaries as revenue assignments called Jagirs. So Manasubdars were allotted some areas. Those areas are called Jagirs. Okay, next, which were somewhat like Vijayanagara Nayanakaras. So here these Jagirs were oftenly shifted from one Manasubdar to another Manasubdars. Okay, so these Manasubdars can collect the revenue from the Jagir villages and send them to the emperors. So this was collected for them by their servants, while the Manasubdars themselves served in some other part of the country. Here Manasubdars never stay in their Jagirs, so the revenue was collected by their agents. So the Jagir was administered by the other officials directly under the emperor. So here the Manasubdars won't have any powers on the Jagir also. So even the Manasubdars cannot collect more taxes from Jagirs. Okay. So the Jagirs too were constantly transferred every 2 or 3 years. That's why the Manasubdars won't get any support from the Jagirs. Next, in Akbar's region, so these Jagirs were carefully assessed so that their revenues were roughly equal to the salary of the Manasubdar. So how many Jagirs were there? So that much Manasubdars were recruited. That too, the income from the Jagirs are equivalent to the salary of the Manasubdar only. By Aurangzeb's region, there was a huge increase in the number of Manasubdars, which meant a long wait before they received a Jagir. So Jagirs were less, but Manasubdars were more at the time of Aurangzeb's time. So after a long wait, the Manasubdars allotted a Jagir to collect revenue. These and other factors created a shortage in the number of Jagirs. As a result, many Jagirdars tried to extract as much revenue as possible while they had a Jagir. So Aurangzeb was unable to control these developments in the last years of his region, and the farmers therefore suffered tremendously. So after allotting collecting the Jagir. So after long wait, they got the Jagir now. That's why they collected more taxes from the Jagirs. So that is became unpopular. The emperors. Okay. So next part of the lesson we'll discuss tomorrow. Thank you.